Welcome to Headphone News, International Edition for Thursday, March 27, 2025.
NATO's commitment to Poland. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk recently stressed NATO's unwavering promise to defend Poland. He highlighted that these assurances are crucial for national security, especially with ongoing conflicts involving Russia. Tusk pointed out the consistent backing from U.S. representatives, reaffirming their readiness to protect Poland and other NATO allies from potential threats. Mark Rutte, Prime Minister of the Netherlands and head of NATO, echoed this message, stating that any attack on a NATO member would trigger a strong response. This is particularly important for Poland, which shares a border with Russia and has faced increased security issues since Russia's annexation of Crimea in 2014 and the invasion of Ukraine in 2022. Tusk's remarks underscore Poland's strategic role within NATO and the ongoing efforts to secure Eastern Europe.
Supreme Court to hear key case on Universal Service Fund. The U.S. Supreme Court is gearing up to hear a crucial case on March 26, 2025, that could reshape telecommunications in America. This case centers on the legality of the Federal Communications Commission's Universal Service Fund, which provides essential phone and internet access to low-income and rural families. The FCC is challenging a ruling from the Fifth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals, which calls funding mechanism a misbegotten tax on consumers. This case raises important questions about Congress's ability to delegate its legislative powers. Established by the Telecommunications Act of 1996, the Universal Service Fund receives about $9 billion each year, primarily from telecommunications companies. The legal challenge began in 2022 when Consumers Research questioned the FCC's authority over the fund. In 2024, the Fifth Circuit ruled against the FCC, stating that the combination of Congress's broad delegation power and the FCC's transfer of authority violated constitutional rules. The Supreme Court's decision could significantly impact millions of Americans who rely on these vital services. What does this mean for the future of internet access in your community?
Democrats call for investigation into sensitive discussion. Democratic senators, led by Chuck Schumer, are demanding an investigation into a political storm involving President Donald Trump and journalist Jeffrey Goldberg. They sent a letter to the U.S. Department of Justice, raising concerns about how Goldberg was mistakenly included in a delicate conversation on the encrypted messaging app Signal. While Trump's team insists no classified information was leaked, doubts remain after reports that Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth revealed critical details about military strikes against Yemen's Iran-aligned Houthi forces. The senators warned that leaking classified information could violate the Espionage Act and urged Attorney General Pam Bondi to conduct a thorough probe. In response, Trump stated his administration would review Signal's use for sensitive discussions while backing his national security team. National Security Advisor Michael Waltz took responsibility for the awkward breach, admitting he created the group and failed to save Goldberg's contact number, leading to the journalist's unintended inclusion. This incident raises serious questions about national security, and the implications could resonate far beyond this situation.
Windrose's ambitious expansion plans. Windrose, a Chinese electric truck manufacturer, has ramped up its fundraising target from $200 million to $300 million to support its exciting expansion plans. This includes new manufacturing facilities in the United States, France, and Belgium. The company is also gearing up to launch its stock on the market, aiming to raise $400 million this year, doubling its previous goal. CEO Han Wen revealed that Windrose aims to produce over 10,000 trucks annually by the end of 2027. Each facility will have its own research and development team, with potential U.S. locations still being considered. Windrose's large electric truck, priced around $250,000, will compete directly with Tesla's Semi, featuring a powerful battery pack that offers a range of over 670 kilometers on a single charge while fully loaded. This expansion reflects the rising demand for eco-friendly transport options and highlights the electric vehicle market's potential. What does this mean for the future of transportation?
German government stands firm on sanctions against Russia. On March 26, 2025, the German government declared it has no plans to change European Union sanctions against Russia. A spokesperson emphasized that the SWIFT banking system based in Belgium operates under EU law. This announcement follows Russia's demand for its banks to be readmitted to SWIFT as part of a broader appeal for relief from Western sanctions. Russia sees these sanctions as a major obstacle to a security agreement concerning the Black Sea region. Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump is pushing for peace negotiations between Russia and Ukraine. The sanctions have significantly impacted Russia's economy and its ability to engage in global trade, highlighting the rising tensions between Russia and Western nations.
U.S. moves to secure essential minerals. U.S. President Donald Trump has activated wartime powers to ramp up domestic production of essential minerals vital for clean energy and defense. With increasing demand for minerals like lithium and cobalt, the U.S. is concerned about its heavy reliance on China, which currently controls much of the supply. To reduce this dependence, the U.S. is exploring partnerships with countries rich in these resources, such as Ukraine and the Democratic Republic of the Congo. However, there are claims that the U.S. is using financial pressure to gain access to these minerals from nations like Canada and Greenland. Additionally, discussions are ongoing about Indonesia's potential role, led by President Prabowo, in contributing to the global supply. This strategic initiative aims to boost U.S. production and reshape international supply chains amid growing competition for these crucial resources.
Federal employees challenge DEI firings. A group of federal employees is taking a stand against the Trump administration by filing a class action complaint with the board that oversees federal employment in Washington, D.C. They allege wrongful termination related to their involvement in diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI policies. Leading this effort is Mari Stenak, the former deputy director of the DEI office. This legal action follows President Trump's order to halt DEI programs across federal agencies. Stenak argues that firing employees based on perceived political views violates their First Amendment rights and disproportionately affects non-white male workers. The outcome of this case could significantly reshape federal employment practices and the future of DEI initiatives. As more federal workers join the complaint, the stakes are rising for both the employees and the administration.
Russia and Ukraine exchange accusations over ceasefire violations. Russia and Ukraine are locked in a heated exchange, each accusing the other of breaking a ceasefire deal arranged by the U.S. aimed at protecting energy infrastructure. On March 25, 2025, Russia's defense ministry claimed that Ukrainian drone strikes hit electric facilities in Bryansk and Kursk, causing widespread power outages. Ukraine dismissed these allegations as disinformation meant to justify ongoing conflict. President Volodymyr Zelensky reaffirmed Ukraine's commitment to the ceasefire, warning of serious consequences for any Russian attacks on Ukrainian energy sites. This escalation follows a U.S. announcement of a tentative agreement to halt attacks on energy locations and ensure safe navigation in the Black Sea, a crucial trade route. Despite these diplomatic efforts, military actions continue, with reports of drone and rocket strikes persisting. Zelensky's advisor, Dmytro Lytvyn, noted that Ukrainian air defenses shot down nearly 100 drones in one night, many targeting energy infrastructure. The Kremlin insists that any potential agreement must include lifting sanctions on Russian financial institutions involved in agricultural trade, a point Zelensky criticized as manipulative. The situation remains tense, raising serious humanitarian concerns and impacting global energy prices.
Paul Atkins appointed as the chair. Paul Atkins has been named the new chair of the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission by President Donald Trump. In his Senate confirmation hearing, Atkins promised to establish clear rules for regulating cryptocurrencies. He emphasized the importance of fostering growth in this exciting sector, while preventing political interference that could block investment opportunities. With a strong background in advocating for less regulation, Atkins aims to work with fellow commissioners in Congress to create straightforward guidelines for digital currencies. His leadership could reshape the cryptocurrency market, providing clarity and security for investors. What does this mean for the future of digital finance? Only time will tell, but Atkins' approach could lead to a more stable and thriving digital economy.
China's industrial profits decline amid economic challenges. China's industrial profits have dropped by 0.3% for January and February 2025 compared to last year, according to a report from Beijing. This decline is largely due to ongoing price drops and a trade war with the United States. While retail sales are growing, consumer and producer prices continue to fall, putting pressure on decision-makers to introduce more financial support. In December 2024, profits had surged by 11%, but the overall trend for the year shows a significant 3.3% decline, marking the third year of contraction in this sector. The automobile industry alone saw an 8% profit drop in 2024. As private demand weakens amid a struggling housing market, the Chinese government is committed to boosting consumption with a special action plan aimed at achieving a growth rate of around 5% for 2025. Global banks like HSBC and Morgan Stanley have revised their forecast for China's economic growth, acknowledging that risks such as tariffs still exist. Meanwhile, profits at state-owned firms rose by 2.1% in the first 2 months of 2025, while foreign firms gained 4.9%, contrasting with a 9% decline faced by private sector companies.
Court blocks Trump's $3 trillion freeze on federal aid. The U.S. Court of Appeals for the First Circuit in Boston has confirmed a pivotal ruling that stops President Donald Trump's freeze on $3 trillion in government aid. This decision means the Trump administration cannot halt grants and loans while the case is under appeal. The court stressed that the administration exceeded its authority, underscoring the vital checks and balances in U.S. governance. U.S. District Judge John McConnell had previously issued an order stating that the freeze violated Congress's exclusive power to allocate funds. A coalition of Democratic state attorneys general argued that this freeze jeopardized essential funding for critical programs. Now, the Trump administration is contemplating an appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court, which could significantly impact the balance of power in federal governance.
Trump's new tariff on imported cars. U.S. President Donald Trump has announced a 25% tariff on imported cars and light trucks, starting April 3, 2025. This decision continues his administration's trade policies, aiming to address trade imbalances and enhance national security. The tariffs will target vehicles not made in the U.S., which could lead to higher prices for consumers and disruptions in the automotive industry. The automotive sector is crucial to the U.S. economy, with imports valued at $474 billion in 2024, including $220 billion in passenger cars. About 4 million vehicles from Canada and Mexico will be affected. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney has criticized the tariffs as a threat to Canadian workers, while European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen warns of negative impacts on businesses and consumers. These tariffs are based on a 2019 national security investigation that found auto imports could jeopardize U.S. security. Concerns are rising that these tariffs might violate the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, which could strain future trade relations. As the automotive industry braces for these changes, the economic effects could be significant, with potential increases in car prices and reduced sales in the U.S. market. That is all the news for today. Thank you for listening to today's Headphone News. News summary brought to you by AI.